I can't believe it. 50 episodes. Franklin and I, right here on this stage, celebrating 50 episodes of the award-winning, spectacular Franklin Show. I remember when I first had the idea. It seems like only yesterday.
It's the Franklin Show from Franklin with your favorite pup, Franklin Delano Roosevelt Sinatra Seltzer, and his owner, the infamous Michael Seltzer. I'm your Doc, Doug Podell, professional announcer, and no money was exchanged for this announcement. Trust me. Here's Franklin.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Franklin Show. I have another one of my favorite people and great guests, Doug Podell, the Doc of Rock. He's back again. Now, the last time you were with us, Doug, you had not officially announced your retirement. We talked for 45 minutes about your career, and we talked about the history of you. And then that week, you announced after 50 years in radio, you were leaving. So I got the first interview of Doug Podell pre-retirement on the Franklin Show.
Yep.
And
well, I had to, keep my cards close to the vest.
But I got to tell you something, man, because I've known a lot of famous, iconic Detroit and other parts of the country DJs who have retired. Some leave honorably. Some are basically shown the door. Their contract isn't renewed. They may be given a shot at a last show, but some aren't. Some are told, okay, we're going in a new direction. I love the new direction.
Yeah.
Or we're going in another direction, whatever the hell that means. I don't know what that means. And you did your last show today, and that's that. You were treated with such great respect, which said so much about you, that not only were you given your due and allowed to retire on your own terms after 50 years, iHeart gave you a studio. They've named a studio after you.
Yeah.
I mean, it couldn't have been more respectful. And that says so much in a very difficult, sometimes cutthroat business. Am I right?
You're absolutely right. I mean, when I look back on it, and while it was happening, it was mind-blowing as it was. But in the end, with the party and the gifts and the presentation and then the studio and the opportunity to really, and they encouraged me all week, all month, really, go ahead, play what you want to, we want this to be special for you. So iHeartRadio, but especially Casey, Tony, and Colleen there, really set aside all the rules and really gave me a special send-off. So I'm very appreciative to them. And I'm, Michael, I'm happy too, because I love this business so much. It was very difficult to leave in a way, even though it was time. But you want to still be able to look back on it with love and affection and respect.
Right.
And when you get kicked out of the business and you're pink slipped in the parking lot, that doesn't really resonate. You know what I mean? So this was just special, and I'm very proud.
And you deserve it, because you are an ambassador for Detroit radio, an ambassador for rock music. I was thinking about Arthur Penhallow, and we did a tribute to Riff, and I had a lot of the members of the old Riff staff on the air. And I had JJ, Jim Johnson, and Karen Sabelli, and Steve Costan, and a couple executives, Christy Tilley and the late Buzz Van Houten. And Arthur's name came up rarely during that. And I honestly don't even know what the real inside story was. I haven't seen Arthur in a few years. I know he's still with us, thank God. But I don't remember when they retired him. I think it happened in 2009.
Yeah,
And
they didn't really retire him. They
yeah, and I'm so it's disappointing because he was a legend for I think it was almost 40 years that he was on
Oh
the air.
yeah, over 40. It was a contract dispute. I was over at CSX at the time, and for a little while, I was running both Riff and CSX. So, he was certainly on the radar, and I had no idea uh, that their plans were to ultimately move him on. But um, yeah, it was a contract dispute. He wanted this, they wanted that, and they couldn't find a match.
And I'm guessing he probably thought, oh, I'll be on the air next week on Wheels or on CSX or whatever. And I don't think we ever heard from him again. I think there was a
No,
very brief during, I think, CSX's 30th anniversary or something. They put him on the air for a short period in about 5 years, 6 years later. And that's the last we ever heard. So that's interesting. And so by contrast, Doug,
yep.
you got such a respectful departure, and you deserve it. So God bless you, man.
Well, he certainly deserves it, and maybe at some point I'll do a WRIF reunion. Although it's always the same people. I could do a W4 reunion for my next record show, and it'd be the same people I've got coming up for the ABX reunion. So.
Well, all right. So let's talk about this East Side Record Show that you've taken on. Obviously, now you're retired. You're probably busier than ever, but that's not nonetheless. That's all right. So you've got this East Side Record Show coming up on March 15th.
Right.
And you've got an ABX reunion of sorts. You've got a whole group of former ABX. So talk about that.
Well, I was inspired by you, Michael, to tell you the truth, and your shows. I mean, I was very impressed with the reunion show that you did where you had Flash Phelps there and
Joey Reynolds and
Lee Allen. He was my hero. And you had all these guys from Sirius XM. I'm not going to have a party like Art Volo at my house, but I was inspired by that.
Good.
But I'm going to do 4 record shows over the course of the year. I rented out an Elks Club in Warren, Michigan, 4 times for the year. And I'm doing it with a partner. We talked about it. And then, we just pulled the trigger and went ahead and did it when I retired. And I do have a lot of memorabilia and records and, books and posters and autographs and gold records. And there's just too much.
Yeah.
So instead of waiting to die and have an estate sale, I think I'm going to, try and move a little bit on right now and, supplement my income somewhat. I don't want to, go completely dark. I do want to do some things. So while I was planning out this record show, I thought, what could we do different than anybody else? The first thing is being on the East Side. There are no shows on the East Side since almost 10 years ago when Al Campbell used to do them in Roseville. The closest they got was Clawson as an East Side show. And to East Siders, that is not the East Side. So Warren fit in perfectly. This nice lady was very receptive to me, putting this on. And then I thought, what can we do different that the other record shows don't do? And I just came up with I was doing all these podcasts during my retirement. Everybody was asking me to come on their show. And one of the main topics was to talk about WABX, the early days, WABX, W4. And I was only at ABX about a year, not even quite a year. But it was inspirational, obviously. It was my first job. And there's a lot of history there.
Doug,
That was
what year?
1975.
75. Okay.
Yeah, a lot of great stories, a lot of great lead-ins to how I got there. So I thought, nobody's really pulled these guys together. And at first I thought, okay, second generation.
I did.
Yeah, I know you probably
Yeah.
did, but I'm thinking second generation ABX, not
Okay.
the original guys,
Right.
not the
Right.
Dennis Frawleys, the Dan
Yeah. Yeah.
Carlisles,
Yeah.
but the Steve Costans and the Greg St. James and the Todd Fowlers and myself. But it did kind of grow a little. We added recently Karen Savelli, who I had completely forgotten because when I went to W4 in '76, she came over to ABX from W4.
Hmm.
So there was a lot of movement, and like I said, a lot of the same players. Um, and then, as I would ask somebody, they'd go, well, did you ask Doak Breen? Or did you
Oh,
ask Harvey Oshinsky? And I went, well, no, but I'll put them on my list and see if they want to do it. So I went down the list as far as I could. There's 10 of us that are going to be there. And I'm pretty excited about it. And, we'll see what happens. But like I said, I have another show coming up May 3rd, and if I do a W4 reunion, it would be the same people.
well, that's all right. People like to see these people, and you're not going to get everybody in March. So, like me, I'll be there for May, and I'll look forward to it.
Well, we have a little different. We're not going to do a radio in May. I actually have
Oh,
something else planned.
oh,
But I'll tell you what, Michael, doing this one, I think that we should consider doing one next year, which would just be a reunion and not the record show, and kind of do it the way you did it, where it's all just encompassing the radio aspect and the DJs, and make it a little bit more bigger with Q&A, and extend invitations to people like Dan Carlisle who are in San Francisco. I don't want to have Dan Carlisle come to some record show in Warren, and it's going to be overwhelming as it is, with everything going on. I'd like it to be, where we have a podium and we
yeah.
have, special guests and invitations, and do
Well,
it right.
that's
So
different.
I think I'd like to build on this as we go on throughout the next couple of years.
That's different than what we traditionally did starting in 1988 when Kernan and Volo and myself started this. We were not making these reunions available to the public. This was an opportunity for DJs who grew up in the business together to reunite and spend time, quality time, talking amongst themselves privately.
Yep.
And it was huge, huge, huge. We had 500 guests at these events. We had special guests like Casey Kasem and Soupy Sales. And then the last reunion that we did in 2019, the Robin Seymour event in
Yes.
Novi, that
Yeah.
was open to the public. That was more about what you're talking about, where people could come up and speak, and we had a little podium, and we had some
Right.
Q&A. That's a different kind of event. Some guys are interested in that, some guys are not, because DJs aren't all out there like you are. You're a very ever present, and that's a big part of the business today. Social media, doing all the things that you did as you exited your career. These guys didn't do that back in those days. And they didn't necessarily want the notoriety. They wanted to just do their thing. And so the reunions that we were having over the years were private reunions, if you will.
Right.
But I can absolutely see a public interest in.
Well, this would be a great way to get Arthur Penhollow, Dan Carlisle, some of the guys that are, and one of the ways I sold it was, let's just get together, because dear God, a lot of people are passing away, And before the next one does,
Right.
let's get together. And that's what I told Karen, because Karen is very hesitant on going out in the public too.
Yeah.
And I love her, and people love her. And I said, this could be the last time we all have a chance to get together.
Well,
And so and none of us have any animosity against each other because we all worked at
right.
like 3 or 4 or 5 radio stations together. So, Peter Werby, I just love the guy. I want to hug him every time I see him, because he reminds me of the radio that I grew up listening to and was passionate about and wanted to be a part of,
Right.
So I'm excited. It's turning out to be quite the event. We sold out the tables, 65 memorabilia tables, almost instantly within the week. I mean, nobody's heard of that.
That's awesome.
Usually there's still tables available almost up until showtime. I've got a waiting list
power of you as
of
the
30 people.
That's the power of you, because people are coming to see you, and you're the architect of this thing. So it's going to be very successful. What's the capacity in the venue?
Well, I'd say we could probably have close to 700 people there.
Wow, that's
yeah,
huge.
700 came through the door. That would work. I'm hoping for anywhere from 400 to 500. But you never know. I mean, the weather always makes a difference. But we've got some great people. We've got Karen Savelli, Steve Costian, Peter Werby, Greg St. James, Michael Mayer.
Oh, yeah.
Who went into sales and management, but he's great. And Chuck Santoni.
Yeah.
We got John Bailey, who was a name that came up through the conversations that. Remember John Bailey? And I went, oh, yeah, John Bailey, Todd Fowler, myself, and Al Wilson.
God bless him.
I love Al Wilson. He was my general manager at ABX. He's one of the first faces I remember in radio.
Right.
I know. And that's, look at Al. He's got some health issues, and I want to make sure that he enjoys this and has a good time.
Absolutely. I think it's a noble effort, and I know it's going to be successful. I would like to commit to coming in, but Detroit in March is not something I'm interested much in.
Especially this year. But Art Volo is going to be there to film it all. So
now you just blew it, because I was thinking I was going to try to make an effort, but if he's going to be there, forget about it.
I am so honored, so proud that Art Volo is going to be there. And
then the whole thing will be on videotape, and we'll get to see it, and it'll be edited with a screen, a rolling screen thing, talking about the event of the century.
He does a great job. He came in and filmed my last show.
Yes, he did.
And sent me a copy of it like 2 days later. I mean, he really put some effort into that.
And you said, "What took you so long?" Is that what you said?
But God love him.
The East Side Record Show, March 15th at the Macomb Elks Club in Warren.
Yeah.
$3 admission. It's 10 to 4 p.m. So that gives people a lot of time to shovel out.
Noon to 2 is going to be when we concentrate on having everybody together at in the one space that I have available, and we'll have a Q&A session. I have these. I found this, Michael.
Oh, wow. That's
so
awesome.
It's a 5th anniversary poster that somehow I had in my memorabilia. And I'm going to print up about 150, 200 of these and give them out for free to everybody, the first couple, people that come through the door, and they can get them signed.
Yeah.
So, we'll have autographs and, pictures, and I'll do a little Q&A with everybody about, how they got started there or how they ended up at ABX. My story was, I was at WAYN, Wayne State Radio, And Chuck Santoni used to be on just before me. So one evening he stopped in on as I was wrapping up my show, which was the later afternoon. And he said, Doug, I just got a job at WABX. Ken Calvert hired me for 7 to midnight on Saturday and Sunday. And he said, well, if you know anybody else, we're looking for a midnight to 6 guy. And he said, you should use my name, go down there, because I guess him and Ken knew each other from Oakland University.
Mm.
And so I took a tape down on Monday, and I dropped it off at the David Stott building. Now, I used to intern at ABX for a couple of years from 72 to 74. So this is only about a year removed that I hadn't been there. I used to intern for Dan and Mark. Wow. I don't know if Dan remembers that, but I used to clean up his coffee cups and his newspaper and put his records away before Pereno came in.
Well, I hope the hell he does remember that, because who the hell would clean up his coffee cup?
Oh, yeah, of course. A couple of days a week. Well, John Detz used to tell me to go in there and straighten the place out, you know. So I dropped my tape off on a Monday, and I called down there, and I talked to Ken on Thursday. And I said, Ken, this is Doug Podell. I dropped my tape off. You know, any news? And he goes, yeah, we've been trying to reach you all week. He goes, you start Saturday.
Wow. This was before the advent of cell phones where you could be reached.
Right. I was going to school, right? So my grandmother probably took the phone call and didn't even tell me about it, for all I know. You know. But
back then it was Western Union telegrams or something
and you had to have a license, if you recall, back then, and I didn't even have an FCC license, so they put me on a temporary license, and then Ken sent me down to Specs Howard, where I met Dick Kernan at the time.
It's the second time in this show that Dick Kernan's name is invoked. We talked to Gerald McBride. He also went to Specs. And I said, I just had Elisa Z on the show last week talking about an upcoming documentary that's being produced in a tribute to the great legendary Specs Howard and, of course, Kernan. So,
yeah. So Dick Kernan, you know, there really wasn't the school the way it is today, or was then.
Right.
In 1975. So he basically took me under his wing and, you know, tutored me my FCC license requirements and got me through. And, you know, never looked back.
Look at how we've advanced. I have no license to do this show, but I am a notary, so apparently it's okay. All right, my friend, always great to see you. I'm so glad that I had you on before you announced your retirement, and now I'm having you on after your retirement, but you're not really retired. You're going along. You got these shows. They're coming up, and they're going to be great. And
yeah, it's going to be a big weekend. If you don't mind, I'd like to mention that on the 13th and 14th of March, I'm going to be hosting the Dick Wagner benefit concerts for children. And what they do, Michael, is, you know, we've gathered everybody, you know, Jimmy McCarty and Derek St. Holmes and Johnny B. and all the great Detroit musicians, Jimmy Bones and Kenny Olson.
Wow.
And we're going to have a Friday night, which is basically all Detroit. Saturday, we added Lita Ford. And we raise money for instruments, and then we give them to children in the hospitals.
Wow, that's
and
fun.
It really is a healing process when these kids get guitars and violins and, you know, bass guitars and drums. And we did this a number of years ago, 3 different events for Dick Wagner. God love him.
Yeah.
And, you know, Susan Michelson, his manager, decided to bring it back. And I told her, I said, well, you know, I'm going to be retired. And she goes, oh, I don't care. I want you to be a part of it. And So we are going to do that on the 13th and 14th, and then the 15th is the record show. And then later in May, I've got an event that I'm working with the city of Warren now. And I've done a few of these, and it's a roast for the Polish Day Parade. And we pick a personality out to roast and then raise money for the Polish Day Parade that was moved from Hamtramck to Warren. And this year it's going to be Johnny the Bee Bedanjik.
Awesome. Wait, now didn't I attend one of the last couple of years? You did.
Well, I think you came to mine, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, that
Yeah.
of course, that was yours.
Yeah, I was roasted. I
You
put
were
one
roasted.
together with Vinny Dombrowski from Sponge. Then they asked me to be roasted, and then we did
Ted
prosecuting.
Nugent was there, and yeah, that was
Yeah,
amazing.
Ted Nugent showed up. Yeah,
Yeah, that was awesome.
I think Chad Smith from the Red Hot Chili Peppers is going to come to this one. Although, don't tell John. But yeah,
It's
you
just
know, so
between
many
you-
people want to honor Johnny B because of Mitch Ryder and the Rockets and all
All right,
the
this
bands.
is just between you and I and my millions of viewers. No one will know.
Yeah, no, don't tell anyone.
Okay. All right, you can't retire the Doc of Rock. He will
No.
always be the legend in Detroit. And I thank you so much, Doug Podell, for being back again on the Franklin Show. And I will look forward to this upcoming event and seeing you in the future as well.
All right, over and out, buddy. I'll see you soon.
All right, take care of yourself. Thanks.
Thanks.
Okay, folks, stand by. We'll be right back on the Franklin Show.
Love is a lesson that doesn't end. It knows no conditions, so you better buckle in. Love keeps you on your toes. It never stops, only grows. Love isn't easy, it's a commitment, especially when they're being their most resistant. Love is finding the right seat so you can take a breath. But remember, love isn't lax, it always double checks. Check that your kids are in the right seat at nhtsa.gov/the right seat.
Okay, folks, welcome back to the Franklin Show. Once again, I have a very special guest, and this is a gentleman who's been on the show before, but he keeps on turning out unbelievable content, and he deserves another shot, so let's do it. Gerald McBride, welcome to the Franklin Show, man.
Man, thank you so much for having me again. How you doing? And hey, Franklin. Hey,
Yeah.
Franklin.
He's right here. He's looking at you. Yeah, he's doing good too. Good.
The executive producer.
Yes, he is. He's the star of the show.
That's right.
So, among your many talents, you know,
Mhm.
you've got the voice of God. Let's
Yeah.
just put that out there.
Yeah.
You're a major radio icon in Detroit. Old school music. That's you. You know.
Yeah.
And a producer, a writer, and you've got a brand new book out called God and the DJ, which is I suspect somewhat controversial as a title, but I know it's coming from your heart, so it's cool.
No, absolutely. It is
All right,
coming from my heart.
So let's talk about, first of all, I love what you do. I love the way you do it. I love the fact that you've got these battle of the bands all the time on your house party show, Mays versus the Isley Brothers. You know,
Yeah.
I remember going to see Frankie Beverly. My wife and I were pregnant with our first, and we were living at the Detroit Boat Club on our boat on the weekends. And Frankie Beverly and Mays were playing, I think, at the Masonic Temple.
Mm-hmm.
We walked into a midnight show, pregnant wife and I say honestly, because Detroit is a very unique city. We were probably the only white people in that entire venue.
That's funny.
To see Frankie Beverly and Mays, who we adored, and we had a great time. No harm came. It was beautiful.
Yeah.
But anyway, I just love the way you do that on your shows, and you got these battle of the bands things going, and it's just fun stuff.
Yeah, man. We and the way we came up with that is one night we were just on the air, and not that I'm the originator of this, because I've heard other DJs who have done.
Oh,
this
really? I thought you started it way back in the beginning.
I wish I could take all the credit for that, but no, man, nothing's original in radio. But I think I just kind of took it a step further and
Well, I think
everything.
I'm original. I'm the only guy that has a dog on his TV and
Yeah,
podcast.
right, yeah, right.
That's
But
original.
but yeah, so we're on the air one night and we were like, hey, what if we put Michael Jackson up against Prince? And we just get on the air, man, and we just started playing Michael songs and then a Prince song, then a Michael song, and we do this for 2 hours, and people were just going bananas, man. They were calling like and with their personal opinions about who they liked the best, and we thought, okay, well, wait a minute, I think we have something here. And the next week we would do it again, Earth, Wind, and Fire against the Isley Brothers, and then Barry White against Teddy Pendergrass, and then Marvin Gaye against Stevie Wonder. And this would go on and on and on. And it started to become a very popular feature on our show.
I would say
And
that's cool.
and really, from that point forward, man, we would do it every weekend, and other stations caught on to what we were doing in Detroit. And that's how we became syndicated, because of this battle of the old school that we did every night, and or every weekend, I should say.
Yeah.
And now we're on 32 stations across the country.
And it
Represent
came
Detroit.
from the Battle of the Bands? That's
Really,
an
pretty much
interesting-
came from the Battle of the Bands. I mean, that was the feature. I mean, of course, we play a lot of a variety of different oldies throughout the show and kind of work our way up to the battle, which is the finale of the show. But yeah, man, that was one of the special features that I was able to sell program directors on. Okay, no, you got to add this to your station, man. Your people, your listeners will love it. They'll, it's
see,
interactive radio. Yeah.
That's a first, I think, and I'm just so proud that we dig deep here on the Franklin Show. We do hard journalism, and we get to the bottom of things. And
Right.
that's a story I don't know that I've ever heard before. And
Yeah,
maybe
that's
no
pretty
one has
simple. Pretty simple story. And I really started out with this show. Excuse me, if I could just kind of go back a little bit, and these are some of the things that we talk about in the book, just kind of my radio career really kind of focuses on a lot of that, and also the voiceover career. But I was actually on the air full time doing afternoon drive for 92.3, and my business just started to take off, and I was like, I just can't do both. And it was at that point where I had to choose, like, am I going to be on full-time radio, or I'm going to be a full-time voiceover production studio? And I decided, of course, to take the chance and step out on faith and start my own business, which is voiceover productions. But anyway, I did ask the program director, it was like, if I could just kind of keep my foot in the door of radio, that would be great. Can you give me just a little show on Saturday night? And here's the big kicker, Mike. Can I play what I want to play? Just give me freedom.
Yeah.
And I know that's funny to you, but a lot of people don't realize that nobody in radio gets a chance to really just say and play what they want to play. I mean, that's
not
very,
since the 60s.
yeah, right, exactly. Yeah. That's just very rare. I mean, formats are very strict at radio stations to say what you have to say, to play the playlist that they have. The songs are picked by a music director and program director. So for me to ask something like that was very bold, but they said, yes, we'll give you a shot. So for $50 a show for 5 hours for $50, pretty much $10 an hour, I started out this show being able to play what I want to play. And
who was the smart program director that agreed with that?
At the time, it was a program director by the name of Monica Starr, and I still just thank her to this day. Like, thank you for giving me that chance, because I had no idea what I was stepping into. And the show would just grow and grow and evolved, and now we're on 32 stations across the country with this little idea that I had, that let me just play what I want to play. But here's the interesting thing about that, Mike, is that, and as you know, that Detroit has just a rich heritage of music, and on top of that, radio. A lot of other places in the country don't have the access that we have to stations like and WRF and
You're reading my mind.
ABX and you know, I mean, and then but even just for R&B music, you had like 4 or 5 different choices of types of R&B music that you could listen to. I mean, from WLBS, you know, they played just a variety and rare selection of music that was chosen by some program directors in New York that I work for. And I mean, and WDRQ and the battle between WDRQ and WJOB and then WJZZ. Nobody had a station like WJZZ in this.
Gerald, I got to tell you something, man. I was driving from Palm Springs to Arizona yesterday, 4.5 hour drive, and I put Donald Byrd in my music selection.
Wow.
And the stuff that was coming up was all JZZ. And I was back announcing like I was on the air, exactly the way Rosetta Hines and Ed Love did it.
Absolutely.
Hearing songs, Bobby Humphrey,
yes.
Troy Ayers, Ubiquity.
Yes.
And all I could think of was Detroit's Jazz Radio, 105.9 FM.
WJZZ, right. And I just had, and you know, I talk about this in the book too, you know, just having the opportunity to work there as well in doing mornings was just really something special. But the type of music that we played, you just do not hear that on the radio. I mean, Donald Byrd stepping into Tomorrow and Spaces and Places and Dominoes, you know, I mean, just, man, it was just some really great music. And it was, you know, it wasn't your hardcore, you know, jazz. It wasn't that. It was a mixture of funk and jazz, which made Blue Note Records what it is. And of course, you know that because you have family that was a part of Blue Note. So so no, man, it was really something special. So for me to be able to get on the air, Mike, and play Donald Byrd and play Stanley Clarke and play Roy Ayers and Bobby Humphrey and oh man, the list just goes on and on. To be able to just say, hey, you know what? Let's do an hour of jazz, you know, and to play Herbie Hancock and just Chameleon, I mean, just all
do you do that on your show? Can you do
absolutely, absolutely. I do that every Saturday. You can hear an hour of what we really call kind of like the we call it blue light jazz jams. But they are really kind of a lot of the Blue Note music that we're playing, man, every Saturday night. So I just take an hour out of the show to do that, and which is this the cool thing about the show. So a lot of times I might just get on the air and say, you know what, I feel like hearing the Marvin Gaye What's Going On album, which was one of the greatest albums of all time, and I can play the whole thing, and I've done that several times, and just kind of talk about, Marvin and his concept, but in making it. I don't know if you've ever heard any of the stories, but I get an opportunity to even share on my show a lot about Marvin and how he made that album, how actually the album was going to be for the originals, and one of the Four Tops is the one Obie Benson, who wrote What's Going On. And in this story I talk about how they were getting ready to record What's Going On, and they needed a bass player. Who did they get? James Jamerson. Jamerson is playing at the 20 Grand. They go over in the middle, I mean, like 2 a.m, after he got finished with his set at the 20 Grand, and they said, hey man, we're going to the studio and we're going to work on this song called What's Going On. Excuse me. James Jamerson was so drunk, but he was so good, man. They bring him into the Motown studio, and the guy is so drunk, and this is a true story, Mike. They lay him on the floor and give him his bass, and that's how he played the bass line on What's Going On, which was one of the greatest bass lines of all time. And then Marvin is hanging out. He's hanging out with, at this time, hanging out with Lynn Barty and Mel Farr. And he brings the Lions into the studio, and he says, I just want you guys to make a little noise on the beginning of the song, okay? You don't have to sing. So this little chatter, hey, what's happening, man? What's going on? Hey. Those are the Lions, the Detroit Lions, man, on the front of that song, man.
Mel Farr superstar became
Mel Farr, right? Exactly. So that little chatter, hey, what's happening, man? Then they go into the music.
Hey, what's happening?
So the lion's on the beginning of that song, and just the way they put the whole track together, man.
Now, did you know Marvin Gaye? Did you meet him?
No, I never met him, but the
Oh,
interesting story, and then I tell all these stories in the book. And that's what
yeah.
this book is about, just really going back to my childhood, growing up in Detroit and listening to the radio. But Marvin Gaye lived around the block from me. He lived on Auto Drive and 7 Mile, and we used to go stand in front of his house hoping he'd come out, but he never did while I was there. But I have some friends who actually, kept doing that, who lived a little closer, and caught a glimpse of Marvin. I think a couple of them got a chance to even say hello to him a couple
So
of
maybe
times.
it was all of you kids that were pissing off his father, and that's what caused the problem. I'm sorry.
This was way before that.
Oh,
So
okay,
this was
that was a bad.
he lived right on the corner of Auto Drive and Monica. But there's a nice ranch style house right on the corner there. That's where Marvin Gaye lived.
Well, I love all the Motown stories. I love going into
Yeah.
the Motown Museum and seeing the map and showing where Diana Ross lived, right around the corner from Levi Stubbs, down
Right.
the street from Smokey Robinson, around
Right.
the corner. I mean, Martha Reeves, they all lived in the neighborhood. Imagine.
No,
the
that
concept.
is so true. That is so true. But no, in the book, I kind of go back to I actually grew up in Inkster, Michigan, and just kind of talk about my childhood there. And I had a brother who was music was always in our house, so my mother always just played the radio. I grew up listening to a radio station in Inkster. It was called WCHB, which was
I
the
know
local. Yeah, you're familiar with. So WCHB also owned actually back then they had a jazz station called WCHD, which
Right.
turned into WJZZ. Right.
Correct.
So I grew up kind of listening to, DJs like Butterball Jr. and Fred Garay and all these great guys that were on WCHB.
Yeah, that was
And
Dr. Wendell Cox and Haley Bell.
that's right, that owned the
Bell
station.
Broadcasting.
And it was a little bitty building on the corner of Henry Ruff Road and Van Born, way out in the country, man. Stood this little bitty radio station.
I would love to catch up with some of the Bell Broadcasting people. Eric
Yeah.
Bass, I know he's out there.
No, absolutely.
You ever talk to him?
I haven't talked to Eric in a while. I did run into Bobby not too long ago, a couple of years ago, but oh man, they have some rich history and rich stories that need to be heard. But anyway, so we kind of grew up listening to the radio, and then my father was an electrician who wanted me to be a electrician, of course, and he had a company called McBride and Sons, and my two other brothers became electricians, and I had another brother. So we had this mixture of electricity and music in our house. So I decided to go to music. I decided, it does. It does kind of go together. But so I had a brother who was an amazing bass player, man. He was so good when we were kids. He made a guitar out of a Tide box, a broomstick, and rubber bands. And my mother looked at him, and he would just sit there pretending to play this guitar. And my mother was like, okay, maybe I need to, buy you a real guitar and give you some lessons. Which she did. By the time he was 10 years old, man, he was so good. Yeah, by the time he was 12, man, he was playing with bands and doing all these amazing things, man. By the time he was 16, when we moved to Detroit, I'll never forget a group called the Dramatics. I've never ever heard of the Dramatics, but
Ron Banks.
Ron Banks comes to my mom's house where we lived on Warrington and 7 Mile in the University District. And him and another member of the Dramatics named Larry Demps came and sat my mother down and said, listen, your son, my brother, Reggie, he says, your son is so good. We want to take him on the road with us. And he's going to Mumford High School at the time, and he's in the 11th grade. And I'll never forget my mother said, no, come on, you guys. He's only 16. No, he cannot go on the road. They pleaded with my mom. They said, look, we'll make sure he gets his GED, and we'll take good care of him. And then my mother says, she finally gives in and says, yes. He goes on the road. And this is all in the book. He goes on the road, and he's out there for about 3 or 4 months playing bass for the Dramatics. He is so good. He gets the attention of James Brown, because at that time, the Dramatics were the opening act for James Brown's tour. And James Brown sees my brother, and he sees him backstage, and he says, "Wait a minute, how old are you?" And my brother says, "I'm 16." He says, "16? What are you doing out here on the road?" He says, "Did you graduate from high school yet?" He says, "No." He fired my brother from the tour and
Oh,
sent him back home. He says, "After you graduate, I'll let you come back." My brother comes home, he gets his GED, and then he goes back on the road with the Dramatics. And from there, after he leaves the Dramatics, he's discovered by Stevie Wonder, and he joined Stevie Wonder's Wonder Love group. So back then, you had all of these Detroit players who were playing for Stevie Wonder. My brother, Reggie McBride on bass. You had Ray
wow.
Parker Jr. on guitar. You had Ollie Brown, who was from Detroit, on drums. And yeah, Michael Sambello. I don't know if any of those names ring a
Yeah.
bell, but all these great musicians, man, behind Stevie Wonder then. And of
What
course,
a great story. And that's
yeah,
just one of many in the
one of
book.
many. Yeah, just one
God
of
and
many.
the DJ. Man,
Yes,
what a
yes,
you've had an unbelievable career. And
yes,
and I
yes,
could talk to you for hours. I could talk to you for hours. And
yes.
I can actually, because this is my show. I can do whatever I want.
Right, you could.
So you're on tour now doing book signings around the area,
Yes.
and so give us another glimpse into the book.
Okay, well, like I said, it just in my life in kind of chronological order of my radio career, and I think the other reason why I wanted to really kind of tell some of these stories, Mike, is that a lot of people hear us on the air, and those in broadcasting, and think we have it all together. And especially on the radio, I mean, you can't really see
Right.
the face, but you do hear this voice. Hey, get up! It's going to be a great day, and man, you are wonderful. You're all of this, and here's so and so and so and so, and just making you feel good when you hear this person on the radio and playing all your favorite songs. But behind the scenes, man, a lot of times our lives are a wreck. And I just wanted to kind of pull back the curtain just so you can kind of see what it was like behind the scenes of what we do. To give you, excuse me, an example of just how rocky my career was in the beginning. So I graduate from Spec Howard School of Broadcasting, and we have a placement service, and a guy by the name of Dick Kernan. I don't know if you remember or know
Come
Dick.
on, man. I had Elisa Z on the show last week.
Oh, there you go.
Talking about a documentary to tribute to Specs Howard. It's
Oh,
coming.
wow. Oh,
course.
that would be so good.
Dick and I grew up in the business together. Of course.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, and Dick was just a big fan of mine, man. I mean, he helped me out so much.
Yeah.
But anyway, so after I graduated, he would promise me, "Hey, Gerald, I'm gonna help you get a job, man." I mean, and that's what he did, and he helped so many people with the placement service of Specs Howard School of Broadcasting, and he really had a heart for helping all of us. And especially me. So anyway, I graduate from Spec Howard's, and he starts sending me out on these different auditions and sending out tapes, and I just could not get a job anywhere, man. It just nobody wanted to hire me, man. And then finally, I get a job in a carpet store, and I'm cleaning toilets, man. I'm like, this is not how this is supposed to go. Anyway, 6 months of doing that, I finally get a call from Dick. He says, "Okay, I finally got somebody I think that likes your tape, and you need to call. You need to call this guy." I call the guy. The guy's name is Greg Jones, and he's the program director of a little small station in Flint called WAMM. It's just a daytime station.
Wham.
Wham Radio. So yeah, I talked to Greg, and Greg's like, "Okay, yeah, man, look, I love your tape. I'm gonna give you a shot, and I'll give you a part-time show every Saturday from 3 to 6 o'clock." I was like, "Oh, this is fun. I've been waiting on this all my life." He says, "Well, just hold on now. What I need you to do is just do a little orientation. I need you to come up here a week before your show, Monday through Friday, so you can learn on the board." Back then, Mike, you had all these knobs, you had turntables, you had cart machines,
Right.
you had to really kind of pay attention, man, to know what each knob did, how, what operated what. And so I did that for a week. And I thought I had it all together, man. I was like, "Okay, I got it. I'm ready."
And you got paid nothing for that week, I'm
Oh
guessing.
no, nothing. Of course not. I didn't get paid much for doing the show either. But anyway, I was just so excited to be on the radio. So anyway, I I get up there that Saturday, and it's just before 3 o'clock, and I step into the studio getting ready for my shift, and I'll never forget the DJ before me saying, "All right, up next is Gerald McBride," and oh my goodness, man! When I heard that, I was like, "This is it! I've been waiting on this all my life. This is about to go down. This is about to happen." And the guy leaves out of the studio. I'm in there by myself, and I sit down. And I just drew a blank. I couldn't remember what knob did what. Like it was one of those moments where you thought the whole world was listening to this little bitty AM station, right?
Right.
And I sit down, man, and I'm so nervous, man. I cue up my record, and I get ready to start the record, Mike. And when I got ready to turn on the mic and start the record at the same time, I knocked the arm off the record and it goes scream over the air. I panic. And the program director runs in, Mike, and he says, "What are you doing? You're fired. Get out of the studio." Mike, before I could say my first words on the radio, I get fired.
And
So
yet,
that's how my radio career starts out.
here you are today. And
45
could it be any
years
better
later.
being on the Franklin Show? Could it be any better?
It couldn't get any better than this, talking about my radio career that I never thought would happen after that moment. But fortunately, man, a friend of mine worked at the radio station, and he talked the program director into giving me another shot. And 3 months later, I came back and I nailed it. And here I am 45 years later. But if I could just go back a little bit further,
Yeah.
In the book, I talk about actually what really kind of got me started is I went to Mumford High School, and I was what they call a soul team reporter. And this was a program that was started by WJLB when it was on AM. And what they would do is allow students from each city in each school rather in the city of Detroit come and do like a little minute report about what was happening at their school. So I was chosen to be the soul team reporter for Mumford High School. So each week we would go down to WJLB, and they would record these reports for us. But the reports were actually being recorded by a guy by the name of Donnie Simpson. I don't know if that name
The
rings
Love
a bell.
Bug.
The Love Bug, Donnie Simpson. So Donnie might have been, I'm 16, he might have been 19, maybe 20. This was his first radio station. He had started there at 16 years of age. And so I got a chance to watch Donnie, first of all, record us. And a couple of times I got there a little early, and Donnie would allow me to watch him make radio commercials. And he would do commercials for his family who owned a record store. They owned Simpsons Records, but they also owned another record store. His brother owned another record store that was out in the suburbs. I think it was 8 Mile in Greenfield. It was called Bad Records.
Bad Records. I used to go there all the time.
Bad Records.
$3.99 for an LP.
Exactly.
Bad Records.
So I watched Donnie Simpson make a commercial one day for Bad Records. And back then he's making this on this tape recorder, man. So he's splicing this tape together, making this music bed, and then he's talking over it, and the way he was putting it on, just watched him put everything together, man. I was like, wow, I'm going to do that one day, and then he invites me into the studio after I got a chance to do my report for Mumford. He asked a couple of us if we were interested in coming into the studio and watching him do his show. Oh my goodness. I mean, that was it. I'll never forget that day. And we're standing there watching Donnie do his show, and he turns around to me, Mike, and he pulls out an album, and the album is Perfect Angel by Minnie Riperton. Since my brother was in Wonderlove, Stevie Wonder produced that album, so all his musicians are credited on the back of that album for playing on the Perfect Angel album. And my brother, of course, was Reggie McBride on bass.
Right.
And he turns to me and he says, Hey, Gerald, this is your brother, right? Reggie, that plays the bass, right? He's on this album. I said, yeah, that's my brother. Donnie puts it on the turntable, and I'll never forget the song that he played off the album. It's called Reasons. He says, he puts it on, he cues it up, and he turns on the mic. 1400 WJLB. This is Love Bug, Donnie Simpson. And this is Reasons by Minnie Riperton featuring Reggie McBride on bass. Man, he could have knocked me over with a feather, man. I was like, oh my goodness.
Another great story, man.
Yes.
I can't wait to get the book. I am going to order it as soon as I get off the air.
Yeah.
I am looking forward to it. I'm out of time, but I love talking to you, man.
Man, thank you.
I learned so much. I had no idea the Simpsons owned Bad Records. That's another.
Yeah, that was his brother.
I
Calvin
graduated Henry Ford High. What year did you graduate Mumford?
75.
All right, I was 70. I was 74, 73.
Okay. Yeah.
So we're just a year apart and rival schools. But
that's
nonetheless,
right.
I love you, man. I love you. I love your talent.
Man, thank you for having me, man. The book is available at GeraldMcBride.com. That's GeraldMcBride.com.
It'll be on the screen. James Drum, my crack editor, will take care of that. And
awesome.
Always good to talk to you, Gerald.
Hey, man. My pleasure. Good talking to you too, Mike. Thanks for having me, man.
All right, folks, we'll be right back with more on The Franklin Show.
Hear that? That's the sound of your life. Perfectly imperfect. But every time you drive after drinking, the music gets drowned out. Your life sounds pretty great. Don't let a buzz ruin it. Buzzed driving is drunk driving. Don't drive buzzed.
Well, folks, this was very special, and thank you so much for being here tonight. To all of you in this audience, to my great band, to my fabulous announcer, to great guests, I am so pleased to have presented this Franklin Show to you today. And next week, we got a barn burner for you, so stay tuned. We'll see you next week on The Franklin Show.
Grab a seat, don't you go. Franklin's ready to steal the show. Lights are up, let's let it glow. It's the Franklin Show on your TV. Big ideas, big energy. From stars to dreamers, you'll soon see. It's Franklin and me. Yeah, yeah. From coast to coast, it's time for the Franklin Show.